We all grow up with this idea of happily ever after. But what does that actually mean when ever after is getting longer and longer? Today, we're diving into something that's quietly changing the game for so many people. It's called gray divorce, this surprising and honestly fast-growing trend of couples splitting up after the age of 50.
And that's the big question, right? I mean, think about it. You've built a whole life together, maybe raised a family, you have all these shared memories, and then you call it quits? It seems to go against everything we think we know, but the data here tells a really fascinating story.
So yeah, there's a name for it, gray divorce. And listen, this isn't just a small blip on the radar. While divorce rates for younger people have actually been going down, for adults over 50, they have more than doubled since the 90s. This is a real, fundamental shift in our society.
So to really understand what's going on, we're going straight to the source material for this whole explainer. It's a really thorough study from 2025 by Dr. Ronnie Rodas. His research pulls together decades of data and gives us, honestly, the clearest picture we have of why this is happening and what the fallout is.
Now, what makes Dr. Rodas' work so interesting is his unique background. He's an information technology implementation researcher, which sounds very technical. But, and this is key, he also has a master's in criminal justice, which is a social science. So he brings this amazing blend of hard, data-driven analysis to a deeply human story. It's the perfect combo for tackling a topic like this.
All right, let's get into the heart of it. The study really breaks down the why into two big buckets. You've got the slow burn issues, the things that erode a marriage over time, and then you have the sudden triggers that are like the final straw.
And check this out. The data is pretty revealing. The number one driver, showing up in almost 80% of the cases analyzed, isn't some big dramatic blow-up. It's emotional drift. It's that slow, quiet process of just growing apart. And then you have the more obvious factors like infidelity. But look at number 3, women's financial independence. The study is really clear here. It's not that money causes the unhappiness. It's that it gives women the option to leave a marriage that just isn't working for them anymore.
So what's going on in our heads to make this shift happen? Well, it boils down to something called socio-emotional selectivity theory. Okay, that's a mouthful, but the idea is actually simple. As you get older, you become way more aware that your time isn't infinite. That good enough marriage that you tolerated at 35 suddenly feels like a waste of your precious remaining years at 60. You start prioritizing real, genuine happiness over just sticking it out.
And of course, there's a whole cocktail of other things stirring the pot. We're living so much longer, right? So people start thinking about a whole second adulthood. The kids finally move out, and suddenly a couple has to actually look at each other again without that buffer. Add in arguments about when to retire, health problems, and even just the individualistic find-your-own-happiness vibe of the baby boomer generation, and you've got a perfect storm.
Okay, so that's the why. But what happens next? A couple makes the tough call to split up. Divorcing this late in the game has some massive real-world consequences, and as the research points out, it's a completely different ballgame than getting divorced in your 30s.
The number one risk, and it's not even close, is your financial security, your retirement. I mean, imagine taking the nest egg you've spent your entire life building and just slicing it in half, right when you're about to need it most. And on top of that, you're doubling your living expenses. It's a huge financial shock.
And the study is crystal clear about this, that financial hit is not felt equally. While men definitely see their wealth take a hit, women face a much, much higher risk of poverty. And this usually comes down to things like having lower lifetime earnings, maybe taking time out of the workforce to raise kids, and losing access to critical spousal benefits from pensions or Social Security. It is a starkly gendered story.
So what does life even look like after the dust settles? Well, the data shows that most people are not running back down the aisle. Almost half end up living solo. And while a lot of people do find a new partner, it looks different. You see more cohabitation, or even this interesting trend of living apart together, where you're a committed couple, but you keep your own places. Actual, formal remarriage, it's the least common path. It seems companionship becomes more important than a legal contract.
Okay, I know this all sounds a bit heavy, but here's the good part. Dr. Roda's research doesn't just point out the problems, it actually offers some really clear, practical solutions, both for trying to prevent a split and for handling it better if it does happen.
And the single biggest takeaway is this: you have to be proactive. These big, late-life challenges, retirement, health issues, new family roles, they are coming for every single couple. The study shows that facing them head-on with a real plan is your best defense, whether you end up staying together or not.
So the study lays out 4 really concrete recommendations. The first couple are for the partners themselves. do a marital audit before retirement, and if you need it, get counseling that's specifically for late life issues. The other two are more for the system, getting couples specialized financial help if they are splitting up, and updating the whole legal process to deal with the unique messiness of a late life divorce.
I want to just hang on this pre-retirement marital audit for a second because it's such a brilliant idea. This isn't just a casual chat about the future. The study defines it as a structured, serious conversation about everything. How are we going to handle money? Who takes care of who if one of us gets sick? Where are we going to live? It forces you to get your expectations on the same page before they turn into huge fights.
And really, this brings us to the final message from Dr. Rodas's work, and it's one of hope. This isn't about scaring everybody. It's about empowering people. The research makes it so clear that with the right planning, even if a couple does separate, they can get through it with way less financial and emotional damage. They can set themselves up for a new chapter that's stable and, yes, even happy.
So we're left with this massive question. As we live longer and longer, what does a successful partnership even look like anymore? The gray divorce trend makes us all wonder, is a 40-year marriage that ends a failure? Or was it a relationship that did exactly what it needed to do for a season of life, and now it's time for something new? It really makes you think about what happily ever after means today. Thanks for joining me on this one.